Welcome to Thriving with Chiropractic, where Dr. Mosier from Mosier Family Chiropractic shares a variety of topics designed to empower, inspire, and give hope. Take a few notes and enjoy the lesson.
Well, hey folks, this is Dr. Mosier here, and I am rocking the Mosier Family Chiropractic sweatshirt and our new hats. So if you're wanting one of these hats, we get them for $12 over from Rita Link's clothing store. And so we get them for $12. So if you want one, it's just $12. We're not looking to make any money off of it. We just want to rock some hats. On the back, there is the Empower, Inspire, and Give Hope on there. So check that out. But today we are going to cover Ellen's story and how her migraines were absolutely debilitating to totally life changing. And I want to walk that process through with you today, if you let me. So today we really, just like the back of the hat says, I want to empower you. I want to inspire you. I want to give you hope. That's the whole point of this whole thing and the Thriving with Chiropractic. Now, let me see. I clicked the wrong button. Aha. So hopefully you can see my PowerPoint on the screen there. But these are just some pictures of Ellen and I and the boys. Now, don't let the boys' cuteness deceive you. They are wild heathens that make messes all over the house. If you're raising kids, put a comment in the chat here. Boys especially are wild and crazy, but we love them dearly. So, I don't want to show that slide yet. So I got a story for you. So there are three women and they want to go on vacation. They're let's get out of town. We're going to Florida. So they head down south and they're not in like a main resort area, where there's a bunch of people. They're out there over in the, the central Florida. So it's not so popular, and they're on in a cabin, and they're just real secluded. So anyway, on this property, way out and then kind of off the property is this lake. And so they're like, well, there's no one around. Let's go for a swim. And one of the ladies says, I don't have a bathing suit. I don't have a bikini. I don't have any of that. And they're like, oh, it's just us ladies. Let's just go skinny dipping. So they peel everything off. They go out there and they're swimming around. And, about an hour later, they look over and this old farmer keeps kind of look at them like kind of weird. And they're getting a little nervous, like, what's this creeper pervert doing? And so he starts heading their way with this bucket. I don't know what's in the bucket, but he's heading their way. And when he's about 30, 40 feet from them, they're, all in uproar. They're panicking. They're throwing their arms up. They're saying, get out of here, you pervert. Stop. Don't look at us, stuff like that. And, the farmer says, ladies, I'm not here to, see you swimming here naked. I'm here to feed the alligators. And so they ran out of there like crazy women. But the point of the story is we're all living and swimming amongst alligator infested waters in regards to our health. There's so many factors that can just rob us of our life, of our joy. And so that's the point of this message today, is to really uncover health and how it's a priority in our lives. But let's take a second, because you're probably like me. You've been to sermons, you've been to seminars, you've been to all these things, and the speaker's just rocking it. They're just, it's hitting you, over and over, but you're not taking any notes. And if you're like me, how well are you going to remember that on Monday morning? And so if you got your phone, if you got a notepad, take a few notes on this. I really think this is going to be majorly impactful for you. My goal is to, energize you. My goal is to, help you reduce pain. My goal is really to, make a difference, so you don't have to have, those surgeries, take those painkillers. Don't live your life. is really what I want for you. Okay. So health, is a priority. And, we find this out through pain and suffering. And our pain and suffering, Ellen and I's, is her migraines. So she used to suffer with debilitating migraines. They were absolutely horrendous. I remember being in college and she would have to leave class, go to her dorm room, shut the blinds, close the curtains. She was done. And I remember her going to, the medical doctors, and they would do the MRIs and the CAT scans and all that stuff. And they found no broken bones, no tumors, no pathology. And so the doc looked at her and said, well, here's this shot. If you had a major migraine, take this shot, it will get rid of it. Okay. Well, when she gave herself a shot, she had to be sitting on the bed, right? And as soon as she drive that thing in her leg, she would pass out. She was gone. And because it was that powerful. But the other thing that doc said, and it really struck home with me, and this is why we're a little weird in our approach with healthcare. It's why we're so passionate, why we get so excited, even though I may see dozens and dozens of folks in a day. I still get excited over each and every adjustment because I know how much life-changing it is. But this doc said this. He said, you're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. And I couldn't tell you how many people have told me that through the we're about to celebrate 4 years of being open here in Salem, and I couldn't be any more appreciative. It has been a blast, and I look forward to 40 more years, maybe 50 more years. Let's see how it goes. But here's some stats, and I don't want to bore you with stats. I'm not really a stats guy, but some of you are, so I'm going to share them with you anyway. There's one on here that really concerns me, but I'm gonna look to my screen, so I'm not going to look at the camera, just so I read this right. But cancer kills over 1,500 people a day. This isn't a week. This isn't a month. This isn't a year. This is a day, and that's a lot. Heart disease is responsible for 34.3% of all American deaths. And then 1/3 of Americans have diabetes. And then another one is the Johns Hopkins study states that 250,000 people die due to medical errors. Doctors do make mistakes too. There's actually other studies that claim that this number is actually closer to more like 500,000. So that's up for debate, but it's a lot of people. The stat that concerns me the most is our kids. 1/4 of our kids, so 1/4, 1 out of every 4 kids are on medication. Now, I found these stats. I made this PowerPoint because I used to present this over at Country Cooking when we used to do live events, and they were awesome. They were fun, and I hope we get to go back to that. But after this pandemic, you can imagine that the anxiety medicine for our teenagers and depression and all these things are skyrocketing. It is. I have a lot of principals and teachers, and custodial staff, people that are part of the school systems. Okay, come here and they get their spine taken care of. But the anxiety and depression that they're seeing in just our little community. Some of you are probably watching from far away in your big cities, and that's awesome. And you're probably seeing even worse than what we're seeing in our little town here, and it's just absolutely devastating. So, sorry, I was on a rant there for a second. So, I shared with you the stats. What's causing these problems, though, right? And you kind of got to ask yourself, well, who's responsible? We want to pass the buck to somebody. So is it our spouse? They seem like a nice person to pass the buck on, or the doctor, or what about McDonald's? Or is it the insurance company's fault? Is it their responsibility? And the answer is no. It's us. It's up to us to change our lives, change our health, change to live the life that we're meant to live. And so, a lot of people have the wrong map. This is the best way I can explain this. People think, in regards to health, they're thinking, well, if I look good, I feel good, I'm healthy. And I, I don't say this out loud, but in my mind, I'm like, well, that's cool, bro, but not so much. Because if you go to the World Health Organization and you go by their definition of health, and I'm going to look over here and read it to you. It's a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So just because you ain't got a disease, but just because you ain't got pain, doesn't mean there could be something going on. And so getting routinely checked, it's just a smart move, and being proactive on your health. So health, and I'm just going to break it down to nuts and bolts, right? Health is function, and you got a scale here. You got 0 to 100. So, 0 is you're pushing up daisies. 100% health, you're thriving, you're optimal health, right? Now, there's experts that tell us that you have to lose upwards of 40% of function before you ever start feeling symptoms. That is crazy to think, but it's so true. You can have this joint dysfunction, and you can be just festering, especially around here. We got a lot of folks that have that. They get that high pain tolerance. They just grin, they just bear. We got a lot of farmers that come through, and we take their x-rays, and they're just now having symptoms. And it's like, bro, you've been dealing with this for years. Look how big these bone spurs are. You're just grinning and bearing. And there's a lot of folks that do that. There is, even in the big cities, folks do this all the time. So the idea, the focus of chiropractic is not just pain relief, but to get you moving towards that 100%, to actually change your life. And so that's what Dr. Morrow did for Ellen and I. And that's actually who I'm going to go see later this afternoon. I'm going to get myself adjusted as well. I go every week. But Dr. Greg and Dr. Craig, they're twins, and they're in their later 60s. They've been practicing for a while, and they're in Bloomington, and that's where Ellen and I grew up. And Mom was not a fan of chiropractic, my mom. And so, but she knew that I was kind of a lost pup. I'm finishing up Hanover. I'm getting my exercise science degree. I'm going to either become a personal trainer, own my own gym, be a physical therapist, be an occupational therapist. I just didn't have much direction, just being honest. And so Mom was like, well, I know Dr. Greg, and he goes to our church. Let's go over to Fazoli's. You'll meet with him. You can ask him some questions, just kind of explore, but don't get too excited about this chiropractic thing, because Mom's a nurse, so she wasn't a fan. All right, okay. So we're at Fazoli's, we're eating our breadsticks, and he's talking to me, and Dr. Greg is super passionate about chiropractic, and he was explaining everything to me. And he just casually said, hey, we help a ton of people with migraines, and just kept moving, just kept rolling. And I said, hold up, because that day Ellen was suffering with a migraine, and she was at home at her parents' house in bed, just miserable, right? And I said, I want to know more. You tell me more about this. You help with migraines. And he started explaining, and I found out so much. And so that's what I want to share with you today. But before I dive into that, I want to explain the essence of chiropractic. This is actually a story that I share with like my second and third graders when I go out to the schools, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So you got little Johnny, and he's an orphan, and he's down in Mexico, and he's down there, and he's walking along the path, and he sees this horse, and the horse is tied up to this tree, and by the way the horse looks and how its mane looks, little Johnny has been around horses, so he knows this horse is starving. He knows that this horse is lonely. This horse has been tied up far too long. So little Johnny's like, well, there's no one around. Untie the horse, hop on the horse, and this horse, boom, takes off like a bullet. I mean, it is running, it is galloping, it is just freedom, right? And so it's running, I would say probably 20, 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden, it gets to along the path, there's all this debris, because there was a storm the night before. So all this debris is on there. And so little Johnny hops off the horse, moves that debris out of the way, hops back on the horse, and they keep on running. And so another 20, 30 minutes down the road, they get to this gate. Okay. And so I was like, well, obviously little Johnny's thinking, well, obviously this horse wants to get in there. It's getting pretty excited. Okay. Well, let's open the gate. Let's just see what happens. It hops on the horse and boom, they're off again. So as they're running, and now they're in this great big farm, huge field, and the horse is running towards this barn, right? And little Johnny could see this old man coming out of the barn. And as soon as the old man turned his head and saw the horse, he got really excited. And then this is like a 60, 70-year-old man. And he starts booking it towards little Johnny and the horse. And so they meet in the middle of this field. And this old farmer, he is just hugging and kissing on this horse. He's excited to see this horse for some reason. And little Johnny's looking at it. This is weird. This is really awkward. But then the old farmer said to little Johnny, so how did you know? How did you know to bring my horse back to me? It's been gone for a week and a half because someone broke into the barn and stole my horse. And little Johnny looks at him confused and says, I didn't know, but the horse knew. And that is how our bodies work. So your body is wonderfully made, and it's designed to heal. It's designed to get healthy. We just got to remove that interference. And that's what little Johnny did for this little horse, this old farmer's horse. So the interference. Now, this is the big thing. And this is what Dr. Morrow was telling me about Ellen's migraines. And he took these x-rays and he found subluxations, misalignments in her spine. And her misalignments were so bad that she was actually starting to deteriorate. You know how there's supposed to be a nice curve in the neck? Ellen did not one single bit. And so these misalignments, nerve interference, and I was mentioning the curve. So in the neck, you got to have this nice, smooth arc curve that allows shock absorption, especially since we're biped. We walk on 2 foots. I know I said foots. There's a fun little story, but I won't share that today. Thoracic spine bows the other way, and then lumbar spine is supposed to have another bow. And that really helps that shock absorption, okay? Quick question, and I want a little participation here. How many neck bones do you think a giraffe has? Does it have 5? Does it have 25? Does it have 105? None of those answers are actually right, so don't use those. But how many neck bones do you think a giraffe have? Now, let me get all the pictures on there. So the nervous system. So everyone knows that the brain controls everything for the most part, right? And so the brain goes down the spinal cord and out these nerve roots. So in the neck, those nerve roots innervate, down the arms and into the hands. So you got people, with carpal tunnel issues. Well, the first place I want to check is the neck. Now, there are other areas that we unlock for them, like the wrist, the carpal bones, the elbow bones. But we want to check the neck. Same thing with the low back, it runs down to the legs and to the feet. So, someone with knee pain, yes, we're going to check the knees, but the first thing we're going to check, of course, is the low back, because that innervates down there. Just like sciatica, it runs down the legs. The interesting thing, and this is something that not a lot of people know. So if you ever get a chance, you're watching this and you're like, by George, someone else needs to hear this, just share it on your page or like this or comment. It will help the algorithms of Facebook, send it out, to more people. But the nerves in the neck go to your eyes, nose, ears, and throat. So you got, blurry vision, ring in the ear, sinus issues, headaches is another huge one. Mid back, you're looking at heart, lung, stomach. So you could have, blood pressure issues. You could have breathing issues. You could have even like acid reflux. That's another huge success here in the office. But the low back, now this is interesting. It goes to your large and small intestine. So you could have Crohn's disease. You could have ulcerative colitis. You could have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, diarrhea. It's just a really crappy situation down there. That was my fun joke for today. But let's jump over, because I want to further this story. Many of you have probably heard of Christopher Reeves. He was the famous Superman actor, probably the best Superman, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, and you can comment and let me know what you think. But he had some horses, and there's a lot of horses in today's lecture, and I didn't mean for that, but he had some horses, and he was riding a horse, and somehow, and I don't remember how, but the horse tripped. Christopher Reeves landed on his head and neck, and what he did was he broke it. He dislocated his neck, so that left him paralyzed from the neck down. So he had to utilize the wheelchair. He also, this is, and he's passed now, but up until he passed, he had to use a ventilator. He had to use, someone had to massage his bowels to, get the bowel movements to release. Now, here's the question. Did he land on his chest and mess up his lungs? No. Well, did he land on his abdomen and mess up his, GI tract? Well, no. He landed on his head and neck, which shut off the nerve supply. So this is like, Christopher Reeves is more of a fuse box being switched off and can't come back on, totally severing it. Most of us that come here, it's more like a dimmer switch. And what I mean by that is that nerve flow, it's still getting signals out there, but it's slowed down. And if it's slowed down, then you can see how the life force of it dials down, just like you're dimming a light switch if you got dimmers in your house. Now back to the giraffe. We have 7 neck bones in our neck, and because a giraffe is a mammal as well, it has 7. So all mammals have the same number of bones. So your dogs, your cats at home, they got 7 neck bones, they got 12 thoracic, they got 5 lumbar. So the giraffe is much taller, so the neck bones are much longer and bigger and more mobile too. So I want to jump back over to Ellen's story, because a lot of people think, okay, how in the world do I get these misalignments? I wasn't in a major car accident, which is one of the factors that can cause it. And I'm going to share with you the 3 T's: trauma, toxins, and thoughts. So trauma is those car accidents. You fall off a tree house, you land on your head, things like that. It also includes the poor posture, the minor traumas. So you got macro and minor. And so these traumas, poor posture, sitting at a computer, day in, day out, so I mentioned I see a lot of teachers. So teachers or nurses, they're on concrete. Their legs get tired. They shift all their body weight to one side and they're staying there. Actually, factory workers do the same thing. Factory workers are even worse because they're doing the same thing.
Have you ever wondered why we are so passionate about serving our community? It's because years ago, Ellen used to suffer with severe migraines, and we were actually told by the medical community that there's nothing they can do, that she was going to have to deal with this for the rest of her life. Luckily, we discovered chiropractic care, and it actually changed our lives, and she no longer has to deal with migraines anymore. I know what it's like to be pushed away by the medical community. I know what it's like, and I know the pain of the statement, you're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. Under this roof, you will be treated like family. Our purpose is to empower, inspire, and give hope to those who are broken, battered, and bruised. Because an empowered person can move mountains and make waves not only in their lives, but in the lives of those around them. We also don't want to just externally motivate you, but internally move you. Because we all have a story worth sharing. And then there's hope. Hope is a light. And for some of us, that light is looking pretty dim. Due to the condition that we're dealing with, or whatever that we're dealing with, it leads to a diminishing light. But what we specialize in is finding the problem and fixing the problem. Because our vision is to be a lighthouse of hope, allowing our light to shine through. And no matter how busy it looks, we are like church. We can always squeeze one more in. Therefore, our mission is simple. It's one more. One more mom, one more dad, one more grandparent, one more child, one more life saved by chiropractic care.
If you found value in this video, please comment and let us know your biggest takeaway. We also ask that you don't keep this information to yourself. We ask that you share it with your friends and family by simply clicking the share button below.